It's the mid-80s. Clothes are colourful, a whole host of timeless pop culture references are born, fed to the machine, only to be born again, and the average hairstyle looks as if it were conjured up by an incredibly confused wizard. But there is a storm brewing. Some of the largest fast food chains all across the globe are vying to become number one, willing to pour millions upon millions of dollars into advertising firms with the sole intention of creating a phenomenon. A catchphrase that becomes synonymous with the brand, a colourful character who worms their way into the minds and hearts and third eyes of the entire nation, of the entire planet, each looking for that one moment that changes everything. For red-headed burger bitch Wendy, it came in the form of the Where's the Beef commercials, featuring 3 human tortoises let loose on a film set, as a joke, I think, though their insistence on finding out where the beef was became an instant hit.
Yes, we know it's a big fluffy bun.
Talk to the manager.
It is the manager.
Where's the beef?
He's putting us under the supervisor.
If you ask me, which you didn't, we should call the owner.
Earlier iterations of the ad looked set to include a younger couple instead, but those plans were quickly scrapped in favour of a middle-aged bald gentleman saying, "Thanks, but where's the beef?" Though execs thought a trio of older women would be far more memorable in the long run, ordering changes almost immediately. And they were right. The whole idea was to present the comically large hamburger buns used by Burger King and McDonald's for their Whoppers and McDLT respectively as being totally devoid of any beef at all, even calling them out by name, ironically, which starts far more beef than any of these companies are willing to put between 2 pieces of fucking bread. But the slogan became a staple of the Wendys brand, inescapable as far as reach was concerned, even making an appearance during a 1984 Democratic presidential debate.
What's new about coming out from entrepreneurs? You know, when I hear your new ideas, I'm reminded of that ad. Where's the beef?
So thanks to a series of short Where's the Beef commercials, Wendy's saw a huge 31% increase in sales, earning 82-year-old Clara Peller a fat $500K paycheck for the year of 1984.
I'm semi, I stay automatic. Money add then multiply, I call it mathematics.
She sadly passed a couple of years later, but her name will live on forever in fast food lore. All in all, a huge win for Wendy's. And next up was McDonald's. After seeing the enormous splash made by a funny little slogan, they thought it'd be a good idea to take it a step further by coming up with an entirely new concept, a fresh take on contemporary fast food, by not only going out of their way to harm the consumer, but the environment too. The McDLT, a 2-part container which for some reason had one side in charge of housing the warmer elements, the bottom bun and the burger, whilst the other side was busy holding up the colder, healthier part of the deal, the lettuce and tomato. So after you've purchased the thing, you have to be the one to put it together. They thought it was genius. No one wants warm lettuce, said a couple of beaming execs, though I also don't think anyone wants to eat a partially cold burger either, Ronald, you fuckhead. But what they were most ignorant of was the fact that polystyrene packaging is not, to put it very lightly, particularly good for the environment. When the material is burned for energy or for disposal, it is then released into the environment, leading to air pollution and health problems when inhaled by people and animals. The product was discontinued in the early 90s, failing to make its mark on fast food culture, with McDonald's aiming to take its brand down a slightly more environmentally friendly route. Pretty commendable, though in 2019, they produced more than 53 million metric tons of greenhouse gas, contributing a significant amount to global warming. Anyway, McDonald's were far more willing to put their neck out in terms of wily ideas, since they were, and still are, number one, annually making around $9 billion and pulling in over 15 million customers a day. Enter J. Walter Thompson. In 1985, the company as a whole were one of the largest names in advertising, overseeing promotions for Ford, the US Marines, masterminding the Toys R Us I Don't Want to Grow Up campaign, and of course Burger King. Built from the ground up by a generic mustache man with a bow tie, James Walter Thompson worked for a small advertising agency called Carlton & Smith, which he bought, then named after himself, morphing the company into a worldwide, all-encompassing entity. He said, it has no limitations. Any spot on earth where goods are to be sold by advertising is inside the fence of the Thompson field. They struck a partnership with Burger King in the early 80s, which really was a starting point in regards to the name-calling and slander competition, with Burger King taking full responsibility for kicking off the war.
A very important message from Burger King.
At this time, we'd like to offer our sympathy to McDonald's and Wendys. You see, the Whopper beat the Big Mac for best taste overall among consumers of both burgers. In a similar test, we beat Wendy's single. Now that may have surprised McDonald's and Wendys. Well, so we just wanted to say, it's okay, guys. Winning isn't everything, but it sure is fun.
In '82, Burger King began rolling out a series of ads in which they said the customers prefer to eat there as opposed to lesser fast food joints such as McDonald's and Wendys, comparing the size of the burgers and customer experience. They didn't take too kindly to the insults, suing Burger King for the unprovoked attack and calling it false, misleading and deceptive. The case initially saw a large spotlight cast over proceedings, but the matter was eventually settled out of court, with people over at J. Walter Thompson ecstatic, saying 20 to 30 million worth of free publicity we figure. We enjoyed double-digit growth for 15 or 16 months, and called it a Goliath versus David battle. So as the novelty of competitive advertising began to wear off, it was time to focus all of their attention on a sustainable slogan, such as "Where's the beef?" or an everlasting fuckhead at the helm of all mascot operations, such as Ronald McDonald. Or why not combine the two together? An almighty hybrid campaign that veered away from the norm of treating the whole world as one big consumer and was instead focused on the burgerless life of just one man. Herb. The concept was simple. Geniuses over at J. Walter Thompson came up with the idea of a man who had never eaten a Whopper in his life, presenting this gentleman as an outcast, a freak, a traitor for never strolling into his nearest Burger King and ordering a delicious meal. The names Oscar and Mitch were floated around, though neither held the same authority or masculinity as a Herb did, and soon enough, mysterious advertisements began appearing in newspapers and on billboards, questioning Herb's fast food virginity. "It's not too late, Herb," said one. And "What are you waiting for, Herb?" said another. Though there wasn't anything physical that audiences could latch onto at that point, no image of Herb, nothing on TV that could signify his potential as a new mascot for Burger King, until November 24th, 1985, when the first commercials were aired on CBS, NBC, and ABC. It featured people from all walks of our dear old Herbert's life, questioning his unknown whereabouts and what led him to the unforgivable decision of not eating a gosh darn Whopper. There were friends who called him weird, parents who called him a freak, and a teacher who looked like she should have been in the Wendys ad. It then showed the only existing photo of Herb, his face behind a bowling ball, and asked the question, "Where the bloody hell is Herb?" Burger King further intensified the hype by claiming that people who were not Herb walk into their nearest outlet and say, "I'm not Herb," if they wanted to get a burger for just 99 cents, and if their name was Herb, then customers were told to say, "I'm not the Herb you're looking for." Store sales spiked by 10% as a result. The second phase of the Where's Herb campaign was now underway, as the process of casting a man to play the titular Herb was at the forefront of operations. Having already spent $40 million on advertising, it was now imperative that they casted the perfect man for the job. Out of over 70 other auditionees, John Menwick was picked to play the part. An experienced stage actor, Menwick was chosen for his low profile and versatility as a performer. Scheduled to make his debut during the Super Bowl in 1986, Burger King funded a secret getaway for their new star, all the way to a cheese factory in Wisconsin, where Menwick would come up with the character of Herb. Whilst there, he developed an entire backstory, where the guy worked, his girlfriend, and what type of clothes he wears. So now it was just about time to reveal the mystery behind the elusive Herb, the TV spot that would hopefully propel young John Menwick into superstardom. The hype was at a fever pitch, people were dying to know who this fucker was. So, ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you, Herb.
Now the ultimate development in the search for Herb. Herb.
Is it true you finally tasted a Whopper?
Yes, it was very good.
And now you're planning to visit a Burger King in every state?
Can you confirm that the first person to spot you in each restaurant wins $5,000 and that everybody there gets a chance at $1 million?
And a free Whopper and a Pepsi?
Absolutely.
Sorry, time's up, but I'll see you after my trip.
Spot Herb at Burger King and win $5,000 and a chance at $1 million.
I mean, I don't know what I expected, but it was certainly more than a balding nerd moonwalking onto stage before proudly announcing during a staged press conference that now, after a state-funded peer pressure campaign, he had emotionally caved and actually eaten at a Burger King. But despite a fairly anticlimactic reveal, a new wrinkle in the Herb canon was now in effect. He loved Burger King so much that he would begin an odyssey that'd see him travel to a Burger King joint in every single state, with the first person to spot him in each location winning $5,000, and everyone at that same outlet earning the chance to win $1 million. It was like a viral marketing campaign in a time where social media was nothing but a twinkle in our AI. Visiting over 60 restaurants in just 25 days, Menwick said that he had a contest official by his arm at all times to determine a correct winner in each location. Though interest was dulled slightly by the reveal, Burger King again saw an increase in revenue, and in a bid to capitalize on the hype generated by Herb, they worked in conjunction with WWE to have him appear as a guest timekeeper during the boxing match between Roddy Piper and Mr. T at WrestleMania 2. Clara Peller, star of the Wendys ad, was also in attendance. I mean, if there was a time to settle their differences once and for all, it was here, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Herb backed out at the last second after he saw Peller doing lines with Hogan in the dressing room. But as the Herb phenomenon was reaching its home stretch, the tour was nearly over, Menwick, fast food Jesus, making unholy land holy again with his presence, curing the poor of their financial woes, and leaving a trail of sodden patties in his wake, ran into a bit of a roadblock that threatened to derail all that he had worked so hard to achieve. Jason Hallman, 15 years old, spotted Herb at a Burger King in Alabama. When his parents found out and made an inquiry as to when they'd be getting the $5,000, officials over at Burger King told them that the minimum age required to win the money was 16, and ended up giving the money to a friend of Jason's with him at the time of the sighting, who was 16 years old. Jason's parents were understandably outraged and complained to Senator Mac Parsons. The Alabama Senate as a whole labeled it consumer fraud and said they would take action if the company failed to rectify the consumer fraud it has perpetrated. Senator Parsons said, "I feel what Burger King did was as bad as what the Grinch did when he stole Christmas." Jason Hallman never even received the $5,000, and as far as the $1 million prize was concerned, Christopher Kelly of Louisville, Kentucky, spotted Herb at a local Burger King and ended up claiming all of that sweet, sweet dough for himself. Good for him, but justice for Jason. And shortly after, the campaign was dropped, and John Menwick was let out into the big wide world, financially better off, I suppose, but now suffering with an addiction to hamburgers. Post-Herb, he revealed that, to this day, I eat hamburgers at least twice a week. But overall, Burger King's $40 million investment was a failure, and their profits were 40% less. To further dunk on an already pretty huge embarrassment for the lads over at BK, McDonald's and Wendys began advertising that Herb was now eating at their restaurants instead, and James B. Patterson, Senior Vice President and Creative Director of JWT New York, said that Herb should have been revealed as a surprisingly attractive individual. Harsh on Menwick, but also mentioned that it was a mistake to present the character as a lovable nerd. You're setting yourself up for disappointment either way, in my opinion. No matter who was on the other end of the reveal, audiences would have been disappointed regardless of whether it was a bald nerd or an incredibly hairy oaf. All in all, I thought the campaign itself was fine, but there's only so much Herb to go around. It was hardly a sustainable business model. In the age of social media, however, I'd be interested to see how it'd play out. But I have a bit of a confession to make. I've also never eaten a Whopper.